Day 3 of the Bryan Clay Invitational continues with the men's 200 meters up next on the track. I'm Carson Gambaro. Happy to welcome you back here on FloTrack and also on our live preview of Day 3 on Facebook, X, and YouTube. If you're watching in live, be sure to let us know where you're watching from. Perhaps some events you're looking forward to. I know the 200 is an event that our sprint fans have had to wait a couple days for since we kicked action off on Wednesday with the 10Ks, with the steeplechases, and yesterday was all about the 800s and the 5Ks. And now it's about the distance that the distance athletes do repeat workouts at. Let's meet our first 200-meter heat. In lane 1, we've got Jelon O'Connor of Central Park Track Club. You see him wearing the Tracksmith kit on the center of your screen, furthest from view. Kyle Smith of Northern Arizona draws lane number 2. Jose Figueroa Acevedo of UAGM in 3. David Dunlap, a former NAU Lumberjack, now representing Altus, wearing yet another Tracksmith kit in lane 4. Shamar Palmer of Fresno Pacific in 5. Javid Bostic of Air Force has vacated lane 6. He's the lone scratch in this opening heat. Adrian Canales of UAGM in 7. And Frankie Gray, the Golden Gopher from Minnesota, in lane number 8. 200-meter meet record is a 20.38 by Bruno de Barros of Brazil. A little stutter out of 8 by Frankie Gray, but they let it go. This heat of 7 is running well and making up the stagger in 3. Jose Figueroa Acevedo overtaking Dunlap on the stagger, but it is Palmer of Fresno Pacific in the middle as well. Palmer, Acevedo, Shamar Palmer of Fresno Pacific surges ahead to win in 20.57. And that looked like a very comfortable effort right there. Really put it together in that second 50. Palmer, the junior, just off of his lifetime best that he set at Stanford, 20.49. Just a couple of weeks later, with a gentle tailwind, goes 20.57. That is the top time to beat thus far. Heats will be running in order based on seeding speed. If we look at our meet schedule here at Bryan Clay, they do a great job of displaying what order that typically goes in. And as for these 200 meters, it appears as though it is fast to slow. Heat number 2, getting a good look at our start list, getting a good assessment of that oh so important practice start. One name that really sticks out to me when I look at this list is Ludwig Vaillant, the unattached athlete in 3. The Frenchman, the 400-meter hurdler, who has represented his team at global championships. You see him right there in the red. Ludwig Vaillant, 30 years of age this year. Captured a silver medal in the men's 4x4 as part of Team France in Budapest. And way further back in 2015, a European under-23 champion. So look out for him, trying to get some good speed work in this part of the season. We've got Jabari Reynolds, Ryan Lofstrom, Timber Heisman, Zion Campbell, Tyrell Smith, Dwayne Smith from CSU Pueblo and Minnesota, and then Vincent Rinaldi of Chico State. Dwayne Smith in 7 was eager to get out of the blocks, as was his teammate Zion Campbell. The Golden Gophers have been bringing the sprinting crew to Azusa today. Vaillant gonna have to vie it out for second. He's moving well, as is Tyrell Smith of CSU Pueblo, but none will move better than Zion Campbell. That was close to the winning time from the first section. It'll be just outside, 20.84 for Campbell from Minnesota. Gamble, the Iowa Central Community College transfer, just set a lifetime best, breaking his mark from the Florida relays around that same time as Stanford. Coast to coast, down from 20.96. Having a really good campaign, really good start to his junior campaign in a Golden Gophers uniform. Of course, this is his first year competing with his new school. Looking at what he's done prior, he was a finalist in the 60 at the JUCO Nationals back indoors last year. Placed 7th, so a JUCO All-American, showcasing some of his bests in heat number 2. Heat number 3 now of 8 for the men in the 200. We are right now looking at Cale Heiser of Lewis, yet another Division II school that we've seen quite a bit of. We've gotten to see some of yesterday's action and today. A lot of varying shades of red here. Jaden Carpenter of Southern Utah, and then we saw in hit number 5, that was Josiah Penson McCoy from Simon Fraser University. They've got a couple of notable alumni competing in the women's 1500, whom we'll get to meet later. Ryan Kean of San Mateo on the inside in 2. Wyatt Wiggins in 6. Brady Johnson of UMD, Minnesota Duluth in 7. And Noah Bringhurst, the second athlete from Southern Utah in this race in 8. Time to beat remains a 20.57, a pretty solid start by Wyatt Wiggins. Wearing the Nike kit, moves up on the outside. Brady Johnson losing ground on the stagger. Can he come back in the second 100? Jaden Carpenter smelling blood in the water, as is Ryan Kean on the near side to the line. Kean's going to be close. He leaned very viciously for that line, and Wiggins just held him off by 0.09 of a second. But what a run by Kean out of the tightest lane draw to give himself the second place finish in that heat behind Wyatt Wiggins. You would think that there was an extra lane on the track if you looked at his hip number, but he ran it out of lane number 6, 21:17. Wiggins, you've seen him compete with CSUN, Cal State University Northridge, of course, running unattached today. That'll be a lifetime best for him as well by 0.06 of a second. And so the personal bests continue. We've had 2 for 3 thus far by our heat winners, not including all those set in the minor positions. What are we going to see in heat number 4? We've got Mark Anthony Sanchez in lane number 2 from NAU. Jalen Nelson of Wisconsin Parkside, there in the black kit and headband in 3. Lane 4 goes to Chris Allen. Currently running for CSUN, a former CSUN runner. Just won the 3rd heat, Wyatt Wiggins. See if they can keep their winning ways in Northridge. Adrian Manning of Lewis is in 5. Lane 6, Jeremiah Boudreau of Central Arkansas. Lane 7 goes to Zion Griffin of Trevecca Nazarene, and Jeb Moon of Altus running in lane number 8. Lane number 5 looks to be vacant, so no Adrian Manning and no Mark Anthony Sanchez from NAU. A pretty thin field, just 5 of the 8 lanes occupied. But how about Jeremiah Boudreau? Lane 6 has been proving to be the golden lane thus far. He is really aggressive around this turn and maintaining his speed in the home straightaway, pulling away from the field. He is going to win by nearly a full second in this 200, if not more. Close to 21 flat with a very gentle tailwind. 21:05 for Jeremiah Boudreau. Boudreau, in his freshman campaign with Central Arkansas, of course, began his competition in the indoor season going all the way to place second in the 200 at ASUN Championships. He's even a phenomenal hurdler, having taken third there. I think he really wanted to break 21, just looking at the post-race expression on his face. His lifetime best 21:02 coming in, so he was just off of that. But when you consider that he ran that with an extra meter per second behind him, if you convert the wind, it's got to be pretty darn close. And he'll have to regather for his next effort over the 200. Speed is important over the hurdles. What can we say? I feel like so oftentimes when we watch the hurdles, we discount the work that is done in between the barriers. But that's what some of these hurdlers and sprinters are working on here with this 200, in addition to shooting for personal bests. When you come to Bryan Clay, a number of goals are on the table. And even having gotten the chance to speak with the meet namesake himself on day one, our Nicole Beckelman got a chance to talk to him. And though we don't usually talk about the sprints leading up to Bryan Clay, they can produce some pretty exciting finishes for sure. In this field, we've got Martell Fields of UC Merced in 1, Brock Unger of UMD in 2, Lamar Smith of NAU in 3, lane 5, Ian Lipsy, another lumberjack from Flagstaff, lane 6, Christian Megas of Cal Poly Humboldt, lane 7, Anthony Jones of Shabbat, and lane 8, Jackson Tarver, Southern Utah. Even clean start. Lipsy really working those arms in 5. And so far paying decent dividends. Hasn't quite caught up to Jones from Shabbat on the outside. 2 NAU runners in the middle of the track, but on the extreme inside, Martell Fields is there. It is Fields and Jones to the line. I think Fields got that one out of lane number 1. Yes, he did. 21:59 by just a narrow 10th with 0.5 at his back. Martell Fields of Cal Merced. Top 3 get beneath that 22 in this heat. And Martell Fields just 4 seconds, 400ths of a second off of his personal 200 best. That will be a big season best, though, if we consider the rest of his season. Indoors, he ran that 21:55 lifetime best, but with some time in between seasons, that was his first sub-22 outdoors. So a good look for Martell Fields, especially going 21:5. Your first 22 sub is sub 21.6. Pretty special. We wish him the best of luck moving forward. Heat 6. This is Jory Vasek of North Dakota. He's in lane number 2. Jaheim Williams of Stanislaus Slate in 3. Stanislaus State. Say that 5 times fast. Lane number 4. Joshua Anderson of NAU. Lumberjacks been really bringing their sprinters as well. We saw a few Golden Gophers in the early heats. Liam O'Donnell of Simon Fraser, the British Columbia-based university, in 5. Julius Turnipseed IV of Trevecca Nazarene is in 6. Brendan Fong of Athlete X, you saw him sporting the big X on his vest. He is in 7. And Marcus Jones of Southwest Baptists in lane 8. Good start for the field of 7. Fong with the shades. Looking smooth off the turn until he pulls up. An unfortunate injury, leaving Marcus Jones of Southwest Baptist all out on his own on the outside. Marcus Jones in the upper mid-21s. Time confirmed now at 21:53, so quicker than the previous heat for Jones of SBU Southwest Baptist. Just a freshman this year. He's got some decent sprinting range. We'll see him run the 400, I'm sure, for times to come. He had a collegiate best just last week at the University of Central Missouri Mule Relays of 48.25, and he just smashed his collegiate 200-meter best down from 21.99 by nearly a half of a second. Think about this. Sprinters will spend years working to improve tenths off of their times, and Marcus Jones took nearly a half a second off in one fell swoop. Really nice run. And just indicative of his potential as well when you consider freshmen hitting PRs, showing that they've made that adjustment to the collegiate lifestyle, juggling the student athlete life. Just adds to the impressiveness of their achievements. What is in store for us in heat number 7? This will be our penultimate heat of men's 200. Yet another familiar sight, a lot of CSUN, a lot of NAU. Our women's 200 will be after this, with 10 sections to come our way. And in heat number 7 for the men, good look at our start list there. Jabari Vaughn of CSUN at 2. Luke Uratega Goyena from NAU is in 3. Ayanome Inegbenoise from CSUN is in 4. Adrian Lau of Simon Fraser in 5. Jamal Perry of Shabbat 6. Jaden Smith, CSUN 7. And Jai McElroy from Fresno is in lane number 8. Lau from Simon Fraser, not present. Lane 5 is a scratch. Good start by McElroy on the outside. How about the drive phase, though? So far, so good for Jai McElroy from Fresno. Now here come the CSUN fellas in the middle of the track emerging. This is going to be a 1-2-3 if this holds for Cal State Northridge. And in lane 4, Ayanome Inegbenoise will take the win in 21.84. Let's see just where his teammates ended up. That was a photo finish. Smith, Jaden Smith ended up sneaking right up there at the line to finish in the same time, but just a few thousandths behind. And then Vaughn, Jabari Vaughn on the inside in 2. Look at this post-race celebration. They might have been placing pre-race bets as to who was going to get to that line first, knowing that they had basically a 50-50 shot of winning that thing as a school. It'll ultimately be Inegbenoise who will get it on the day, just narrowly better than Smith. Heat 8 of 8 is next. Shamar Anderson, representing the Cougars on his home track from Azusa, is in lane number 2. Zachary Taylor of NAU is in 3. Shamil Youngblood draws lane number 4. Yet another CSUN product. Could he make it back-to-back heat wins for his team? Zachary Jenkins of Fresno. We saw his teammate Jai McElroy get a great start in the previous heat. Now will he negotiate the blocks with only Jeremy Belcher of Simon Fraser on his outside? Anderson, Taylor, Youngblood, Jenkins, Belcher, heat 8 of 8. Men's 200 at Bryan Clay. All clean on the start. Jenkins got a good one, just like his teammate McElroy previously, but coming off of these turns, these CSUN men really know how to execute and finish. Speed maintenance, the name of the game in the 200. And just outside of 22 flat for our final heat winner, Shamil Youngblood at 22.09. His teammates were waiting for him there at the finish line. He'll get to celebrate with them. 22:09 to 22:47, a sizable margin when you consider just how little room there relatively is in the 200 meters. We're going to have some more 200s coming your way in 10 minutes, 10 sections of the women's 2 here at Bryan Clay. We will be right back for that. Stick with us on FloTrack. We're a little bit ahead of schedule here on FloTrack. This is heat 1 of the women's 200. And surging ahead, Fresno Pacific in lane number 4, Soraya Copeland will just get to the line first. We had some strong finishes on the inside. Emma Cannon of Simon Fraser got up for second to get Zion Corrales Nelson at the line. A big win there, especially having to move a little bit up sooner in the schedule than they might have anticipated. We're around 3 to 4 minutes ahead now. And the top 4 will get an under 24 result. The women's 200 meters is an event that just saw a world-leading time achieved today over on the East Coast in Florida at the Tom Jones Memorial Invitational. Olympic 100-meter champion Julian Alfred from St. Lucia, former Texas Longhorn, went 21:88. So Alfred could very well be going for yet another global double attempt. She did get on the podium, but couldn't take the likes of Gabby Thomas back in Paris. Will she be able to do it this year? Who will have what it takes to win heat number 2? Let's see some of our top competitors. This is Trinity Miller, the hometown Azusa Pacific Cougar, right there left of your screen. She'll be in lane 6. Nobody looks to be in lane 5 right now. We do have a couple of scratches, as you can see in the middle. On the inside, we'll have Jasmine Crawford of CUI. Andrea Rivera will be in lane number 3. Repping Universidad, Ana G. Mendez. Again, no lanes 4 or 5, leaving Alejandra Urias and Anna K. Maitland in lanes 7 and 8. And we're underway now. Or heat number 2, again, looking to beat that 23.5 that we see in that first heat as they hit the top of the home straightaway. Miller, the Cougar, looking good in white, but so too Crawford and Rivera. Now Andrea Rivera in 3 moves ahead, and she will surge ahead to win in 23.86. Rivera, the Puerto Rican-based athlete, 21 years of age currently, just set a huge season best. That was her first time this year below the 24 barrier. And she just even squeaked by her lifetime best. That was back last summer on the 15th of June, 23.88. And right here in April, she's out here dropping a 23.86. Consider this. That 23.88 personal best of hers was what it took to win the Puerto Rican National Championships. And here she is already eclipsing that in just the first full month of outdoor. Really strong result for Andrea Rivera. Heat number 3 is up next, looking to beat 23.58 once again. The heats do run from fast to slow, so the odds of that will only become an uphill battle from here, but we've got Lauren Coleman of Drury in 2, and a Bastian Sin from Wayne State out of Michigan in 3. Ariana Vera of Fresno Pacific. She's in lane 4, just had to make sure her spikes were tied. I know that's happened to me before. I've had a shoe come untied mid-race, not fun. More so funny. Faith Wyman of Lewis and her teammate Rebecca Crevetti in 5 and 6. And then Nisha Howard in 7. And Ava Simos in 8. Section 3 of 10 in the women's 200. Half lap around the track entirely in lanes. And so far, it's looking like Nisha Howard has gotten the best start. But the finish is important as well in the 2. Can Howard keep her lead? Here comes Hannah Bastiansen and also Faith Wyman from Lewis, the D2 product, in the scarlet red. We'll be in the low 24s with our first headwind of the day, so had some tough conditions to navigate, but she'll go 24.25 for the victory. Wyman, we saw her drop a 24 flat for a collegiate best, but that was with 6.8 meters at her back at the minor invitational at Missouri S&T. And so, not exactly optimal sprinting conditions today, but she puts together a roughly equal performance when we convert the wind over. And we'll look to build upon it from here as we move to heat number 4. Looking at this field, we've got Hannah Sobkowicz of British Columbia. She's there in the UBC kit on the right. Wearing the AP Nike Group kit is Kiara Holmes. Kiara Holmes of USA. That's Azusa Pacific, AZUSA, for you spelling nerds. Tanya Gleason of Omaha's in 4. Taja Booker of Ohio in 5. Izzy Nishaw of Hawaii 6, Renee Allen, Central Arkansas 7, and Giannis Kerr of Augustana, South Dakota on the outside in 8 with a very recognizable gold kit. She's going to get passed up early though. Allen of Central Arc with the headband has caught up. We've got a 3-way battle emerging now. It's Taja Booker in 5 though. But look out for Kerr on the outside. To the line, 24 mid on the finish, and Booker just holds on, 24.43 by just 0.15 of a second. Good run for Taja Booker, the Bobcat from Ohio University. Ohio University out of Athens in the Buckeye State, located just southeast of the state capital of Columbus. It's actually in the pretty deep southeast of the state, not too far away from the Kentucky and West Virginia borders. And Taja Booker with her 24.43 will collect the Heat 4 win. Just off of her lifetime best. Again, running into a bit of a headwind. 24.16, the mark that she'll be looking to chase down in her next effort. Section 5. A couple names that I recognize here. Jersey Finstad of North Dakota. You see her in the white and green there. I got to watch her compete at the Boston University Track and Field Series indoors, and she just has such a great finish to her race. Will she factor on the start, though, in this 200? You've got Gretchen Rainey of St. Mary, Kansas, as well in 2. Sakara Henderson of Central Arc in 4. Jordan Germain of Northern Arizona in 5. Rashawna Gibson of Utah Tech in 6. Adanellis Rodriguez-Leon in 7. And Jordan Nielsen of Southern Utah in 8. They get away. So far, everybody's got away cleanly on the first gun. We know Finstad has a strong finish, so we'll see what she has in this final 100. Not a lot of time to close that gap as Adanellis Rodriguez-Leon, she is going to storm away with this one. Finstad There's that big finish that we suspected. She gets into the top 3, but a 24:19 for Adanellis Rodriguez-Leon. Bring her home well clear of the field. Yet another Puerto Rican-born athlete, Adanellis Rodriguez-Leon. She got to participate in the Puerto Rican Championships last year. She was the Puerto Rican runner-up. We saw the one woman that finished ahead of her win the second heat. That was Andrea Rivera, and the Puerto Rican national runner-up will finish second to none in heat number 5. We do have plenty of Mexican-based athletes as well competing for SoCal institutions or simply unattached. We've had athletes with all different heritages. The East African nations being represented in the distances, even some European nations. One that comes to mind off the dome, Amina Matoug. She'll be factored in very heavily. The Dutch woman competing with the University of Washington. She'll be in the women's 1500 later. And of course, a number of American national finalists as well. Section number 6, women's 200. We're looking at Laura Dixon there of Southwest Baptist. She's in that lane 5 that so often considered one of the preferable lanes in a 200-meter stagger. Sadia Green, Samantha Gordon, Reese Rogowski, Shania Randolph, Noemi Thibault, and Amelie Fairclough. All fighting it out amongst each other. Shania Randolph, though, she doesn't want to leave it up to a fight whatsoever. Swinging and pumping those arms down the home straightaway. Dixon with a strong finish from SBU. But Shania Randolph will run the strongest half lap of all with a narrow tailwind at her back, just 0.1. 24:34 for Shania Randolph, a sophomore from Fresno Pacific. She'll collect the personal best to go along with her victory in this heat. Her previous 200 PB, 24:46. Back at her hometown Fresno Pacific Sunbird Invitational, and that was in February. So one of those perhaps polar bear season meets, if you will, when a lot of the Eastern universities are still running indoor track. She's coming here to Bryan Clay, showing all the improvements that she's put in between. It might not seem like a staggering improvement. Of course, we've had some of those athletes set those personal bests by multiple tenths of a second, but setting any personal best, I'd argue, in the sprints, even if it's not the grand long-term goal that you're going for, you have to take the victories where they come. There's always going to be something preventing you from perfection. We saw that at Arcadia with Jane Hedengren, one of our stars of day 2. She knew she had more to prove, and I'd argue here 15 sub-minute 5K showed us that at Azusa. Section 7, Kate Fitzgerald, Shania Harris, Nayara Anderson-Brown, Troy Nell Miller, Gabriella Caldwell, Whitney Christensen, and Brianna Lord. They are underway. Just 3 sections remain after this. The Central Arc women have executed pretty good block starts to this point, but who's going to have the best finish? Troy Nell Miller in the middle of the track with a narrow advantage, but here comes Nayara Anderson-Brown of Shabbat, as well as Gabriella Caldwell of UNLV. They come to the line, and it will be Anderson-Brown in lane number 4 to win in 21:37. Nayara Anderson-Brown, last time she ran a 200 was a 24:51 at Stanford, and that was with an entire 1.6 meters per second of tailwind. just 0.3 here. She improves on that by a sizable chunk of 0.14 big margin. Big PRs, big dubs for Nyara Anderson-Brown. As we've got now the 8th section coming up next on the track. Getting a good extended chance to take their practice starts. We say hello once again to our live audience. FloTrack, YouTube, X, and Facebook. Once again, we've got live chat on our free streaming platforms. While we're still on this preview, be sure to let us know where you're watching from, what events you're looking forward to today. We'd love to know what you think. Women's 200, heat number 8 is up right now. We've got Mina Tsai of San Francisco State in lane number 2. They are in lane 3. Colette Patty of Charleston, West Virginia. Savannah Pineda of Bryant in 4. Ariel Haygood of NAU in 5. Malika Mashak of UNLV in 6. Jalen Cummings of Simon Fraser in 7. And Kaylee Peterson of Pepperdine on the outside in 8. They get away in the third to final section. A good start so far by Jalen Cummings of Simon Fraser. But she's starting to lose a little bit of ground as Kaylee Peterson of Pepperdine senses her on the inside. And coming past all of them is Colette Patty of Charleston, West Virginia, with a powerful surge off the turn. Can Bryant's Savannah Pineda catch her at the line? Ooh, not quite. I'm going to give it to Patty right there, 24.76. She gets it by 0.07 into 0.1 meters per second headwind. Colette Patty, lane 3, one of the more difficult lanes to draw when you're a speedster running the shortest race with a turn involved. But she did a really good job not expending too much energy around the tight bends. And once the curve started to smoothen out into the home straightaway, she set sail for the finish line. Heat number 9 coming up. Ramaya Pringle-Hamilton of Shabbat in 2. Megan Wickowitz of Wyoming in 3. Anna Woolsey of Wachita Baptist in 4. Elena Reed of NAU in 5. Sierra Ellis of CSUSB in 6. Ashanti Perkins of Azusa Pacific in 7. And lane 8 is vacant. Looks like lane 5 is as well. So just a field of 5. And they're off. Ashanti Perkins, the hometown Azusa Pacific Cougar, gets a good start on the outside, but not quite as good as Anna Woolsey in the middle. From Wachita Baptist, she's got Ramaya Pringle-Hamilton of Shabbat to deal with on the inside, but she seals the deal in the final 50. Powerful arm action through and finishing right around 25 flat, just a bit under 24.96 for Anna Woolsey. Or looking at her personal best, we've seen her go 24.31, but again, the catch that was at the Wachita Invitational where there was 6.7 meters per second tailwind at her back. That is, if I had a word for it, illegal tailwind. It's the fact it's 2.0, the maximum allowable tailwind. And even in tougher conditions and not the warmest of sprinting weather, we're looking at 63 degrees right now, much better than many athletes of other universities that we've seen compete have experienced to this point. But ideally, if you're a sprinter, you want 70s, 80s, ideally. It just goes back to that point I made earlier. Not everything is always going to be under the ideal conditions that you plan and structure your race around. And that's why it comes down to execution. Heat 10, our final section of the women's 200. We've got Jada Lugin of UNLV in 1, Mia Roberts, Cal Poly Humboldt 2, Erin Collard of Academy of Art in 3, Maya Clark, Charleston 4. Hawaii's got Nora Fisher and Deonna Carter in 5 and 6, Giselle Reed in 7, and Jordan Davenport of Azusa Pacific in 8. It's the final section of the women's 200-meter dash here at the Bryan Clay Invitational. Giselle Reed, the unattached athlete in the black top, pulling slightly away from the Hawaii athletes on her inside, but collecting everybody in the home straightaway. Yet another strong display by Charleston, West Virginia, this time by Maya Clark, running away, keeping her form, upper 24s for the win. 24.94 for Maya Clark from Charleston. And guys, that was her first sub 25. From 25.16 down by 0.24, a nice quarter of a second improvement. She'll be surely thrilled with that. Execution is the name of the game once again. And Clark gets it done the best on the day. Looking at where we lie in the schedule moving forward, our next event is set to begin at 4:05, so we've got around 12 minutes to catch our breaths in between before we return for the final sprint event of the day, the women's and men's 4x4. It'll be the men up first at 4:05 when we return from beautiful Azusa, California. Time for the one and only relay event at the Bryan Clay Invitational, the men's 4x400. Coming up next on the track at Azusa Pacific University. I'm Carson Gambaro, having taken over for our good friend Kevin Selby. Our other good friend Nicole Beckelman will soon join the broadcast. We'll get to hear from her trackside within the next hour plus. She'll be gathering some of the top athletes once we reach our invite men's elite sections of 1500 and the women as well. Right now for the men's 4x4 though, looking at our teams on the track, we've got Chico State in 1, South Dakota State in 2, Akron in 3, Northwest Missouri in 4. Lane 5 goes to NAU. Not seeing Northwest Missouri right now in 4. I am seeing the Lumberjacks though, so they are in 6. Southern Utah in 5, another apparent scratch. Leaving lane 7 to Boise State. They've got their blue kits. We saw a lot of their distance runners wear the orange, and the Cowboys of Wyoming will be on the outside in lane number 8. 4x4s, we haven't seen a whole lot of on the scene thus far this season, but those that we have at the Division I level, top time, Texas A&M was definitely a scorcher. 3:02.15 at the Florida Relays, anchored home by one of the greatest 4x4 runners in collegiate history, Ahmad Robinson. We've seen split as quick as a 43.2 before, during his legendary run with Stephen F. Austin. If you want to get on that top 50 list, South Florida's D team, 3:08.08 is there. Division II rankings will definitely be up for grabs when we consider schools that are on the inside. This is Wyoming. This is NAU, correction. Wyoming wearing a different shade of gold. NAU, they'll be looking for the Division I rankings, but Chico State, they'll be definitely after the D2 marks as well. Pretty long hold for our first legs. If you've never seen a 4x4 run out of a 3-bend stagger, basically the first leg gets a bit of extra stagger to work with, so once they pass over to their second leg, they'll run the second lap, first bend of the relay in their lanes and then cut in towards the rail at the top of the backstretch. Top 50. Definitely top 30 is up for grabs when we consider the D2 men's 4x4 rankings. Chico State and our other D2 teams are looking for that. We'll have to be inside of Eastern New Mexico's 3:13.26. Chico State already the number 18 ranked team in D2 at 3:11.20. The first of 3 sections of the men's 4x4. We see just 3 of our teams on the inside. This is how wide the stagger is. It's so rare to see all 8 teams. There we see them on the left. Wyoming really hugging the inside of that lane line. Same with Northern Arizona and Boise State. And so far it's paying off for the Cowboys. A good leadoff by Cody Haight, the freshman. And also for Akron in lane number 3, Braylon Farrington. Watch to see who hands over that baton first. It's going to be pretty even, I reckon. Chico moving well as well on the inside. Ray Suffredini with a strong finish, but pressuring immediately on the outside. Akron takes over. At the cut-in, A.J. Jordan. So it's Akron, Chico, and then South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits in 3rd. Wyoming really working hard to try and move up from 4th. with a 5-6 battle between NAU and Boise State. Akron, you see the wave lights on the infield. No pacing here, just an amped up light show. Chico State having a great rally. Let's observe the halfway splits as we hit 800 meters. Right around 135. That's good pace for Chico State if they want to set a season best. The Akron zips down the back straightaway. Their lead dwindling ever so slightly. Here comes Chico and Quincy Patton. He's on the outside shoulder with a Nike headband. Can he get past in the final 200? South Dakota in a strong position where they can observe the moves happening in front of them, but they're going to have to hand off relatively wide on the track as Akron reinstates its lead by around 2 to 3 meters into the anchor. 2:22. And a slightly smoother exchange for the Zips. And Chico State in second. Can the Wildcats come back? Can they hold on to second over the Jackrabbits? South Dakota State has worked its way right up in contention for second. Really starting to lean into that final 200 as Wyoming, Boise State, and NAU give chase behind. SDSU pressuring Chico from behind. Back up to Akron around the final turn. It's Chico State responding in the home straightaway and moving away. What a great 4x4 anchor and win in just under 3:10 as well. 3:09.50 for Chico State. That'll move them now into number 6 in Division II. All the way up from 18, a strong result and great team effort. It looked like they were losing ground at the beginning of that anchor, but great patience, great pacing by Vincent Rinaldi. Chico did have to give up one of its long-standing Division II national records held by Scotty Bowes in the 10K to William M. Ponce of Texas Tech a couple nights ago. But they didn't let that stop them from coming out here and getting a great win today. South Dakota State ultimately get up for second over Akron. 3:10.32 for the Jackrabbits. They seem pleased with their efforts. Here's another strong Division II school that you'll want to look out for in this next heat, CSU Pueblo. They've got numerous Division II leaders when we consider the national conversation. Namely, in the 800, we got to see Reese Sharman Newell last night. Increased his lead down from 146.65. He ran in the slightly lower 146s in a ferocious 800-meter finish. Aside from him, even John Sweep is in the top 10 for the 1500. Pueblo's got 2. In fact, 3 total athletes in the top 10 for the 800 in the Division II conversation. So that's a general overview of what they bring to the table, running in lane number 4. On the outside in 7, this will be Wisconsin Parkside. Another Division II school, the Rangers, out of Somers in Wisconsin. A lot of great Division II schools competing here. Adams State, they'll be on the inside in 2. We saw a lot of their distance and mid-distance runners compete yesterday and the day before. UMary, they'll be in 3. This is Fresno City in 6. And the one team we've yet to identify, Western Washington. You got a couple pairs of brothers in these relay teams. UMary has one in 3. Osvaldo and Oziel Cano. And Western Washington on third and fourth leg will have Evan and Isaac Ford. Second of 3 heats in the men's 4x400 meter relay. The final sprint track event at Bryan Clay. Once we reach the 5 o'clock Pacific hour and 8 p.m. Eastern hour, we will be all about the 1500 from there. They're off.
CSU Pueblo runs in 4. 5 is Western Washington. Fresno in 6. And Wisconsin.
Western Washington showing a strong lead off thus far. So rare at a 3-bend stagger that you see passes made this early, but Bryan Lee has done just that. And so too is Osvaldo Cano on CSU Pueblo for UMary. So UMary and Western Washington both having gone out the quickest. But now it is double W. Surging at the end. Pueblo with a strong finish as well. That was Tim Anstedt, one of those 3 men that we mentioned at the top 10 Division II 800-meter rankings. He had a great finish to that leg. But Adams State showing a great start to this second leg as it's eyes on Western Washington. Maurice Woodring smoothly cuts in from lane number 5 towards lane number 1. Here are the third legs getting ready to take the stick as the second legs hit the final 200. Adams State separating away from UMary and CSU Pueblo. But all 4 teams still within about 10 meters of each other, and all still with chances to bring it home strong. Western Washington just outside of 135 at the exchange. So halfway through, they're on pace for around a 3:10. And nobody in the picture as we speak. They are really running away with this thing. They have doubled their gap over the past 200 meters of the race. UMary trying to summon a response, having to call on Xavier Eiffel, a freshman, to do so. Adams State and Colorado State Pueblo in third and fourth. But some great form through to the finish by Western Washington will set them up in the driver's seat on the anchor. UMary and Adams State about neck and neck for second on that handoff. And the final 2 teams give it over. Fresno and Wisconsin Parkside. UMary back into second over Adams State. But Western Washington hits the final 200 meters with plenty of daylight. Western Washington, the Division II Vikings, they're looking to climb those national rankings as well. Here they come to the line. Can they get under 3:10? It's going to be close. 3:09. Oh! Western Washington, 3:10.08, the official winning time out of the second heat. That'll move them not too far off of what we just saw in the first heat. Out of Chico State, Western Washington with that 3:10.08 is now going to move to number 12 in Division II. Awesome stuff there. They had yet to log a time in the top 30 prior. But some really good running and execution by Bryan Lee, Maurice Woodring, and then the Ford brothers, Evan and Isaac. That's just about all that they needed to accomplish their objectives. We've got the third section coming up after this, and then some women's heats of the 4x4. men's Heat 3 is getting set. .309.50 Chico State's time to beat that time that we just saw for second overall to win the second heat by Western Washington. That'll slot them into number 2 overall in the conversation. So the win is still very much up for grabs here. Let's meet the teams as we get ready for Heat 3. It's just a 2-team race here. Trevecca Nazarene and Redlands in 4 and 5. We're called to a stand-up, so giving us a little bit more time to introduce them. Nobody will be disqualified. The University of Redlands. They're wearing the R. Nice that they're giving the arena the chance to pause and include Colorado College. They were also entered in this heat and now being given a chance to come back. So University of Redlands, they're a Division III school. That's what we were trying to figure out and nail down for you. Colorado College. Tigers, rocking the stripes on the front side, have joined the fun. So Division III schools in 3 and 5, and the Division II, Trevecca Nazarene in 4. And we're away on the second go. Really good start by Redlands. The Bulldogs building a nice advantage on this opening leg, but now they're starting to be reeled in. Trevecca Nazarene, the Trojans, their opening leg. Lucas Baggett rocking the reverse cap. Went out really hard in that first 350, maybe starting to pay just a little bit as Redlands rallies with Jude Holling, the freshman. He'll hand off just ahead, stepping outside of the lane. Got to be careful there. Don't want any lane violations upon the exchanges, but the Redlands will get it in front. Colorado College really fighting to stay afloat in third, as they separate down the backstretch. Top time in Division III this season, Wisconsin Lacrosse, 3:08.26. If you're looking to enter that top 50, 3:19.16 is what you need. Redlands, they've got a couple of teams in there. Their season best, a 3:16.59. And here they come into the third leg. Maybe lost a little bit of ground in that final 200, but they are right on pace for a season's best. Colorado College has moved now up into second. They're looking to enter that national conversation. But as of right now, they've been passed. Good move by Trevecca Nazarene, running on this third leg, making up massive ground on Redlands. Patrick Lang, and also following the both of them, Rabbit Barnes. You see him lurking in third, trying to position himself on the outside shoulder for a slingshot in the home stretch. With a conservative start, leads to a fast finish. Redlands pulling away once again. Colorado into second. It'll be the two Division III schools leading over the D2 school with 1 to go. Redlands, Aram Sarkeesian, trying to get away from Josh Williams. Trevecca Nazarene trying to catch the both of them. The school from Nashville trying to hug that inside rail as far as they can afford to. They're going to have to pull out to make a move in this final 150. Colorado College feels them from behind and responding to the pressure, hitting the home straightaway. Redlands trying to keep turning it over. The stride shortening. The lactic setting in. Here comes Colorado College at the line. Redlands just makes it in. 3:15.70. And Colorado College right behind it, 3:15.81. The numbers 17 and 18 marks for Division III this season. We've got just a few relays left to go. It'll be the women you see getting ready for the 4x4 to come after an exciting trio of men's sections. The women will close us out with 3 of their own. And by the time we conclude there, we will be all about one event and one event only, the 1500. I'd find it hard to believe that any of our 4x4 runners will be doubling in that event, so take a moment to cherish these faces that we're about to see while we've got them. That's Adams State setting up in the middle of the track. They'll be taking out a lane number 6. Northwest Missouri will be in 5. Yet again, some of the top Division II schools that we're watching for to ascend those rankings early in the season to set themselves up for more opportunities to keep improving that chemistry, that team speed. Top time in Division II. Southwest Baptist's 3:39.04. Looking at some other teams in this race, South Dakota State. They'll be on the inside in 1. Idaho. They were on schedule in 2. Hawaii, I see them in 3. Western Washington, they'll be in 4. We saw a great display from their men's team to take 2nd overall. And Wyoming looks to be there in 7 with Oklahoma Baptists. And a apparent vacancy in 8. I'm not seeing them. So looks like 6 teams in this field. Nope. OKB is there. I see them now. They're in red. This is South Dakota State on the inside. Hawaii trying to stand still and locked in. Sometimes you tell yourself, oh man, if I just have one more practice start, and it's that mental trap that you fall into. You think the longer you wait, the better your race will go. But really, you just got to rip that Band-Aid off and embrace the pain of an all-out 400 for your teammates. Here we go. Start heat number 1, women's 4x4. And Oklahoma Baptist, they were hiding on the outside, but they are making their presence felt now that the gun has sounded. Looks like they've got that dark green kit there. And on the extreme inside, South Dakota State moving well also. So it's the extreme outside, the extreme inside, and also in the middle, Northwest Missouri, pulling away from Western Washington in this home straightaway. Second legs are waiting to take those sticks. Remember, they must stay in their lanes before cutting in. And it's easy, as we see, to drift into the outside. You have to turn around to get that baton. We've seen what's happened at Team USA in these 4x4s, even not including the first to second handoff. It'll happen between third and fourth sometimes. You just never know. Got to have that 360-degree vision. Northwest Missouri doing the best thus far. Leading through 600 meters of the race. Western Washington in second. Trying to move up is Oklahoma Baptist. They come around the outside, followed by Idaho, and then a three-way battle for fifth, currently being led by South Dakota State. Here they come strong in through to the third leg. Just beneath that 150, that sub 340 pace. We mentioned how for Division II schools, Southwest Baptist's 3:39.04 is the top time in the country. Northwest Missouri try to keep climbing that conversation. Out of the Mid-America Intercollegiate Athletics Association, the MIAA, the Bearcats lead by about 5 meters, and now the two-way battle is between Oklahoma Baptist and Idaho. Look at the Vandals moving very well in third. They went a lot harder than the rest to get to where they were, but they put themselves in a top 3 position come the exchange. That horizontal positioning so important in these relays, as if you hand off on the outside, you got to run just a little extra distance. Northwest Missouri didn't have to worry about any of that. Can they hold on to this lead? They're down the back straightaway. They're being reeled in. Oklahoma Baptist within 12, and then another 12 meters back to Western Washington in blue. South Dakota State moves up into fourth over Idaho. And then Adams State in sixth. Will we get any more position changes in the final 100? Northwest Missouri steps on it once again. Remember the time that they're shooting for. 3:39.04. We're coming to the line, and we're going to have a new Division II leading team in the women's 4x4. Northwest Missouri, 3:27. Their crowd absolutely loves it. They are celebrating post-race, climbing to the top of the Division II national rankings and running one of the fastest times, the third fastest time in school outdoor history. Happened to be indoor history. If you look at the outdoor list adjacent to that on BearcatSports.com, or that women's 4x4, they're still going to slot in to number 4 in school history. So a really impressive result for NWM. Number 4 in program history, number 1 in Division II. That was special right there. They also finished just beneath the meet record as well. Looked like a 3:37.25, their official finishing time. The meet record was 3:37.29. In case we needed another way to glorify that run we just saw, we've got plenty of those. The one thing I love about big meets like Bryan Clay is that the stat lines run so deep, so much further beyond the winner. And even if they don't, there may be more than just a win in and of itself embedded within the winner's stat line. More than a number, more than a time, a result of months of work and dedication. Heat 2 We've got in lane number 1, there's Omaha, Wisconsin Lacrosse. They'll be in lane 2. Do not forget about those D3 rankings. Boise State will be in 3, UMary in 4, Southern Utah in 5, NAU in lane number 6. I'm not seeing the Lumberjacks right now. I'm seeing quite a few vacancies. In fact, Chapman will be in 7 on schedule, and then Wayne State from Michigan on the outside in 8. I'll tell you, the atmosphere, the field events have been going. It has been electric. You can hear the claps in the background. Those were for the triple jump. Not one of the events included in the decathlon. The event that Bryan Clay, the namesake of this meet, won the Olympic title back in 2008 in. The 4x4 was not one of the events either, but the individual 400 was. It's one drawback of being a decathlete running the 400. You never really get a chance to run a 4x4. These athletes thankfully do not have to worry about that. We've got 4 athletes on the innermost lanes, moving well on their staggers. And the 2 on the outside fighting it out with each other for the time being. They will all soon be in the same pool once they hit the top of the back straightaway, but they've still got a handoff and another bend and a half to get to before then, as Chapman moves up on Wayne State to hit the home straight with the shades. A good opening leg by Kaylee Smith, the senior. Chapman from OC, Orange County, Orange, California. They're going for those D3 rankings as well, as Boise State moves up on their inside. Who's going to take control at that break? It looks like the Broncos, but they're going to be challenged heading down the back straightaway. What a swift move that was by UMary. They're into the lead now, 600 meters in. Another Division II school competing out of the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. UMary coming from Bismarck, North Dakota. So they're used to chilly sprinting weather like this. Accelerating away on the second leg. Fine run by Kalisha Downs. She'll hand off in first. They had to set themselves up in second position, but they get it in first, and it's now in the hands of Tiance Walrond. Looked like Boise made a rally there at the end of that leg to get up into first over UMary. Now that we've set that straight, let's see if UMary wants to try again on the ladies from Idaho. They do. Tiance Walrond overtakes McKenna Murphy. She'll have to give it up to Gabriella Chiara, who was in the 800 yesterday. She's really struggling to get home. You can't blame her. Walrond just ran a heroic third leg. Sakena Messiah will have the honors of taking the stick home for UMary, the University of Mary out of the North Dakota State Capitol, leading over Boise State College out of the Idaho State Capitol. They're in a three-way battle for second. Lacrosse, they're in third right now, ahead of Chapman. The two D3 schools behind D2 and D1. As they come around the final bend now, starting to go a little side to side is UMary. But they've got plenty left in the tank. were set up very nicely. 2:45 through the first 3 legs. Let's see what kind of time they can come home in this time. Breaking 3:40, yes sir, 3:39.79. You Mary, number 3 now. In fact, becoming just the 6th team in Division II to break the 3:40 barrier. They are absolutely thrilled with that time. And even Chapman as well. They ended up finishing just behind Wisconsin La Crosse for 3rd overall, 3:43 for La Crosse and 3:45 for Chapman. Looking at the Division III rankings, Wisconsin La Crosse, they just became the number 1 team in the 4x4. And that'll be a number 3 national mark as far as times coming in. Number 4 factoring in La Crosse for Chapman. They were previously number 13 at 3:50.97. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a school record or 2 fly beneath our radar. We'll go ahead and confirm that right now. You Mary running 3:39.79. Where does that stack up to their fastest time? Of course, they were anchored home by their 400 school record holder, Sakena Messiah. They had Tiance Walren, their school record holder, the 200 as well on that list. And they just barely, they got it by 0.08 of a second. How about this? Put yourselves in their shoes right now. We're flashing back to the second heat, but when they saw that finish line clock, it read their old school record, 3:39.87. They were hoping, they were praying that it would round down, and it did. So a win, a school record, and a number 4 Division II time for you Mary. Wow. That's pretty cool right there. You know what else is cool? Another 4x4. Let's bring on heat number 3. We've got Redlands in lane number 2. Yet another Division III school. Brandeis will be in lane number 3. Looking at the rest of our teams, we've got our first appearance of a B team in this. That is Oklahoma Baptist. They're in 4. Pepperdine will be in 5. And Chico State, who saw its men's team win the overall relay title. This is the slow heat, but can they get the sweep out of lane number 6? Brandeis, yet another Division III school. They're in 3. Oklahoma Baptist in 4. Their Division II. Out of the Great American Conference, Pepperdine. They're the lone Division I school in this race, with Chico State D2 on the outside. Brandeis, among the smallest in the field, the D3 powerhouse moving up. And they are going to come off this turn having made up 3 staggers on their outside. This is a phenomenal opening leg by Peterly Leroy. She's going to be in the low to mid 50s as she hands it over to Jasmine Berganza. 54 as she passes the baton, and around 4 seconds of advantage over the next closest team, Pepperdine. Just look at how widespread this race is. Heading down the back straightaway, look at this 4-way battle for second. Pepperdine still moving well. Redlands trying to minimize their distance. Chico making a steady cut in over Oklahoma Baptist, the trailers in green. You just see all that distance they've got to cover, though. It's almost as if these teams who are already trying to work together amongst themselves are going to have to work with the other teams to catch back up. Brandeis, Jasmine Berganza, two freshmen on the first two legs with some very strong showings. 154 at the halfway split, setting them up for just beneath 350 pace if they can hold it and finish strong. They definitely lost some of their lead in that final 200. We'll see if Brandeis has the ability to hold on. Chico is there. You see them in third. And in between they and the leaders from Brandeis is the largest school in this race, Pepperdine. Brandeis. Shanice Nugent really starting to resort to that stride as she hits the final 150. And Oklahoma Baptist slingshotting around all three of the other minor position teams into second now. But still nearly 20 meters of gap to close and only 400 meters more to do so. It's Brandeis on the anchor. Hannah Bobot-Dreedy takes the stick with a smooth early stride. Oklahoma Baptist, though, having done all the work in that back half of the third leg, find themselves nestled in second. Oh, they had a pull-up there, though. Unfortunate result. We wish all the best to Kaylin King, their anchor leg on schedule for their B team, mind you. So they had done an incredible job to stick as highly placed in that race as possible. Now the three-way battle for second is between Pepperdine, Chico, and Redlands. As Brandeis goes away once again, hitting the home straightaway. Sub 350's got to be a good goal for them. They're going to be well below that mark. By how much? Brandeis to take it by 20 meters, 349, just got it. And they are thrilled with that result, 349.69. Prior to today, just 10 teams in D2 had done that. And Brandeis joins the club with their new season best, and they love it. 349.69, the official winning time. And a very significant time, because if we look at the Brandeis school record from 1999, that was a 349.82. From 1999, correction, they just broke a 26-year-old record to get that win. So that'll wrap it up for the women's 4x4. We will return for racing in about 10 minutes, but even after we're done with this 6-hour 1500 marathon, we're going to have a lot more exciting races to watch in the coming week. Next week, Philadelphia, April 24th through 26th. Watch America's oldest track and field event with athletes from all over the world coming to compete at the Penn Relays. Then catch the home of the world's preeminent track and field events with the start of the Diamond League on April 26th in Xiamen, followed by the TCS London Marathon on April 27th. It's all streaming here only on FloTrack. We're going to take a break. When we return, as we said before, and as we'll say once again, 6 hours of 1500s. See you soon. The Bryan Clay Invitational is named after Beijing 2008 men's decathlon Olympic champion Bryan Clay, who after throwing, running, and jumping in 9 different events always finished his competitions with the 1500, the same event that we will wrap up our Bryan Clay Invitational coverage with, as we have hit the 5 o'clock hour on Pacific Standard Time here on the West Coast in California. Carson Gambaro, happy to say hello to you once again for the 1500 marathon. 72 total heats of the metric mile race, 1.5 kilometers in distance, 3.75 laps around this 400-meter track. However you want to slice it, that's the basics of the 1500. We'll get into the intricacies as our races get underway. Our initial start list on the left of your screen. You see them atop that back straightaway. For those looking to watch some of our elite sections, we'll have those at 7:50 for the women and 8:08 for the men. Again, PT, but rolling here early. Angela Corte of New Mexico State goes straight ahead to the lead. One of the New Mexico State athletes made some pretty big waves last night. In our 5K marathon, Thomas Croshaw breaking 14 in an epic comeback kick. A little bit of different strategy that we're seeing from Corte early going to the front, but we'll see how she makes it pay off. In second place, tiptoeing that inside rail, looks to be Sofia Gutierrez of UC Santa Barbara. She's been passed, though, by Skylar Bennett of the Nevada Wolfpack. And on her outside, now moving up, wearing the Titans jersey, there's Fullerton's Shandy Moore. Ahead of the wave lights early. This is the first time here today since the Open 1500s in the C group that we saw this morning in the Breakfast with Benyon window. This is the first time that we're seeing the wave lights since then. How will our athletes stack up? Gutierrez has taken the lead for the first time in the early goings of the race. A lot of position changes through this first 500. We're a third of the way through, still just ahead of the lights. On the back of this field, we've got the athletes representing Fresno, it looks like. If not, another institution will get a much clearer picture of that. The entire field is still in it. I'm seeing Soraya Hernandez of Hawaii. She chose to tuck back into the mid-pack as she got passed up by San Diego's Lizzie McVeigh, coming into the final 800 of the race. Our early leader there wearing hip number 1, Angela Corte, towards the back at Stanislaus State. Noheli Ron and her teammate Isabella Moreno, they're the two trailers trying to move up, as getting away by about 10 meters now. Great move made by Sofia Gutierrez. She's trying to break this field and stretch it out. Gutierrez, the senior from Santa Barbara, is actually yet to run this distance as a collegian. Very interesting stat line there. She's run 800s, 3Ks, 5Ks, cross country, of course. She has run it unattached. She ran back at Bryan Clay